Good morning. Good morning, wherever you are. This is English Paper 101. It's KCSE Part 3. It is Part 3 because previously we had gone through Part 1 and 2 successfully, Paper 1. And on our previous upload, we had seen some sample questions and, of course, the responses on how Part 1, Paper 1, KCSE English would look like and what exactly examiners expect of you. So in this episode or in this particular part, brace yourself as I'm going to take you through a different variety of the same paper, but of course, and also the sample responses and address of prompts and of course the examiner's expectations. So welcome. A reminder, in case you're coming across this work and it's your first time, you came across it accidentally, a friend of yours referred you to this work. How about this? You don't want again in the near future to come across this work accidentally. A thumbs up, that is a like, a subscription will place you in position for the future updates. And believe me, by the time you sit for your exams, you'd have been enlightened. So take this one as a lesson, just like normal lessons that you have in class. Better yourself, even as you're preparing to sit for your ND of exams. Welcome. Straight away to question 1 of this particular section, functional writing. You are the secretary of the drama club in your school. The chairperson has asked you to send out a notice of the second meeting to plan the staging of Shakespeare's play, The Merchant of Venice. During the meeting, you will need to appoint the director of the play, set up a date for selecting the cast, discuss the budget for the play and the dates for the rehearsals and the final performance. A. Write the notice of this meeting with which you would send to the members of the drama club. B. Write the agenda that you would attach to the notice. Point of interpretation to the first part of this question, good students. If it's a notice, must appear below the logo or within it. Must be a notice. Must bear the label notice. The name of the club issuing the notice must appear at the head or the top. Must state what it is meant for the members of the named club. Keyword there, must state the date and day and time of the meeting. Must state the venue of the meeting. Must be written in formal, precise language. Must bear an indication of who issued the notice, that is, the secretary, need to be signed. Borders or inset to give it an enhanced attractive appearance. All those particular features, good students, I know you must have gone through them with your teachers. Quickly, this is just only to remind you of the things that you're supposed to do with a notice. Now, practically, much of the work you are required to do. So find these particular features of a notice writing very useful. Part B, the agenda. The agenda must be an agenda, must have the heading of the club, must have an indication that it is an agenda, must list all the items to be covered, those given and those implied. For example, matters arising, that is AOBs. These are sample response. Upstart Drama Club, that is the heading of the club. And then the agendas. We have the preliminaries. We have the confirmation of previous minutes, matters arising, appointment of a director of the play, date of selection of cast or auditioning, budget to produce the play, dates for the rehearsals, dates of the final performance, and any other business, that is the AOBs. Good students, this is suggested and implied in your prompt because you cannot be talking about the budget to produce the play if they didn't ask that to be part and parcel of your response. And also for the dates for the rehearsal, remember it was a play. Magenta Venice, which has to be rehearsed before it is put into a play, and also the date of the final performance right there. So, meaning that the agendas are going to be extracted rather from the prompt. So you have to be very creative. Good. Second part of this particular paper, it's a cloze test. Fill each blank space in the following passage with the most appropriate word. I'm going to go through this one, but a good reminder that for you to grasp the idea, first of all, you read the whole extract as though it was complete, and by doing so, you'll get the idea of what the tense of that particular extract was, and that will also give you maybe a mileage on the appropriate words that you're going to fill in those particular blanks. I'm not going to do that, you'll do that, and I know you've been told that one by your class or your teachers from your various schools. By far, the greatest obstacle to success is, in my view, is a poor understanding of people. Most careers involve working with other people. You can have great academic intelligence and still lack social intelligence. The ability to be a good listener, to be sensitive towards others, to give and take criticism well. If people do not like you, they may help you fail. On the other hand, you can get away with serious mistakes if you're socially intelligent. How are you when it comes to working with people? Are you genuine and authentic, or do you continually put up a front? Do you listen to others, or do you do most of the talking? Do you expect everyone else to conform to your wishes, your schedule, and your agenda, or do you look for ways to meet people on their terms? If you haven't learned to get along with people, you'll always be fighting a battle to succeed. However, making people skills as a strength will take you further than any other skills you develop. Question number 3, part A. Provide a word which sounds the same as each of the following. Male, right, male, male. Q, we've got Q right there. Higher, higher. Blue, blue. 8, 8. Good. Read the poem below and answer the questions that follow. The Debt by Paul Laurence Dunbar. This is the debt I pay, just for one riotous day, years of regret and grief, sorrow without a relief. Put it, I will to the end, until the grave, my friend, gives me a true release, gives me the clasp of peace. Slight was the thing I bought, small was the debt I thought, poor was the loan at best. God, but the interest. You might as well as want to pause within that particular part there, that slide, so that you get to read the poem for the second time. Now, it is adapted from the American Negro Poetry, edited by Amma Bottoms. List all the pairs exam style questions. List all the pairs of rhyming words. All the pairs of rhyming words from the poem. As part of this poem, we have pay, day, grief, relief, and friend, release, peace, both, thought, best, and interest. Question 2. Describe the tone of voice that would be appropriate in the reading of this poem. Describe the tone of voice that will be appropriate in the reading of this poem. Good students, you're required to describe right there. Now, this is a poem in which the persona expresses regret and despair for something foolish that he or she has done in a moment of reckless excitement. Whatever it was has resulted in a lifetime of suffering and gloom. The tone should bring out the sorrow, desperation, as well as resignation. The tone is likely to be solemn, or somber, or poignant. How does the punctuation in the second stanza influence your reading of the poem? How does the punctuation in the second stanza influence your reading of the poem? The punctuation in the second stanza indicates 3 types of pauses. the dash, which represents a significant pause, which also creates suspense because it is not easy to anticipate what the persona will say next. The comma, in a short pause that gives the speaker time to catch his or her breath. The full stop is a final punctuation mark, and in this stanza, it seems to tell us that the speaker's fate is sealed, final. There seems to be no possibility of appeal. Ironically, only death will bring some relief. How would you say the last lines of the poem? 2 marks. The last line of the poem would be said in a voice that expresses surprise or even shock at the realization of the price that the persona must pay. Perhaps the voice would be raised, the eyes wide open, and the words God and interest articulated with a lot of emphasis. The exclamation marks show that this line would reveal the fact that the persona still cannot believe what has happened. Consider the situation below and then answer the questions that follow. You are part of an audience that is listening to a speech. You look around and notice that some people are looking at their watches. A few are yawning and 1 or 2 are shifting in their seats. This is a very important part of this particular paper here. It is called performance question. Performance question, and we're going to be looking at several, so this is one of it. 1. What would be the likely cause of such a behavior? What would be likely cause or the cause of such a behavior? This is what would be likely. So look at that prompt question. So what would be likely? Not most likely. The audience's behavior would indicate that the speech has been going on for too long. That's part of the most likely cause. And that the people think they will be late for something else, or that they are tired, bored, or uncomfortable. The behavior would be a signal to the speaker to end the speech. The speaker could be inaudible, inconsiderate, or boring. What would you do to ensure that you continue listening effectively? In order to continue listening attentively and effectively, I'll try to mentally summarize the speaker's key points, remind myself of the importance of the talk and how the information can help me, take notes and try to paraphrase what the speaker says. I could also try to anticipate what the speaker would say next, maintain eye contact with the speaker, and avoid daydreams and, of course, distractions. Consider the following conversation between a seller and a buyer of chickens, and then answer the questions that follow. Buyer: how are you this morning? Seller: I'm okay. Buyer: I'm looking for good chickens, but yours don't look too good. I'm going to have visitors, and this being the Christmas season, I really must give them a feast. Seller: these are the right kind of chickens for your visitors. They are healthy and well fed. Buyer: on the contrary, they look underfed. Anyway, what is your price? Seller: it depends. I charge more for cocks, then they have more meat, pointing at the red cock. This one, for instance, goes for about 400, okay, for 400 shillings. As for the hens, I charge 250 shillings. Buyer: you're not serious. Much of the weight is a bundle of bones. I'm giving you 150 for each hen and 300 for each cock. I'm buying 3 of each, 3 hens for 450 and 3 cocks for 900. This will give us a total of 1,350. Seller: I buy and sell. I don't get them from my shamba. Your figure doesn't give me much of a profit at all. Buyer: but you also know money is hard to come by, and especially during this Christmas season. Give me a reasonable price unless you prefer I go to another seller. Seller: let me make it 225 for a hen and 375 for a cock. Buyer: it looks like you're not interested in selling your chickens. Seller: no, I am. Why would I be here? My children's fees come from this business. Buyer: okay, take 175 for each hen and 325 for each cock. Seller: no, there will be no profit for me. You can do better than that. You can surely promote my small business. Just give me 350 per cock and 225 per hen. These would be 675 shillings for the 3 hens and 1,050 shillings for the cocks. All right. Buyer doing his mental arithmetic. That's a total of 1,725. Okay, at least I'll be able to feed my visitors. Handing over the money. Here you go. Thank you. As the seller ties them two together. You're a good customer. Please come again. My name is Musimbi. Buyer. And I am Karani. See you then. Seller. See you. What is the purpose of the greetings in this situation? To establish a rapport, to set the stage for negotiations, to break, of course, the ice, given that both the seller and the buyer are strangers. Identify and explain the negotiation skills of the buyer. Feigns a lack of interest in the commodity and even says that he can go to another seller. To feign is to fake or to pretend that he is not in interest of the commodity, but really he is indeed in need of that commodity. That is feign. He feigns rather. This is intended. Why these skills has to be done? Okay, it is intended to encourage the seller to negotiate more seriously and not take advantage of what might be the seller's, of course, desperation. The buyer is being tactful by adjusting his price gradually to meet the buyer. Of course, he listened to the seller and he is willing to meet her halfway. He apparently empathizes with and understands where the seller is coming from and her need for money. For example, here, her need to pay fees and maintain her business. Creates goodwill, becomes friendly towards the seller, or creates a good atmosphere for business negotiations and even for long-lasting relationship. What does this business transaction reveal about the nature of negotiations? That business negotiations and negotiations in general require to give and take. And this happens in this transaction. This particular transaction generates goodwill between the buyer and the seller. Negotiations should result in a win-win situation. The seller gets a reasonable price for her chickens and the buyer gets the chickens that he's looking for, also at a reasonable price. The two are ready and willing to meet halfway. As a result of a goodwill, the two people have become friends. They get to know each other's names and apparently look forward to another interaction. Good learners, this paper is awarded 60 marks. You might as well as want to really perfectify that one. I look at it and see that it's like you're given free marks. How about preparing right now so that you don't get embarrassed during the exam time? This is the end of this particular episode. Stay put. Remember, I've told you to subscribe for the future updates, and that is the only way maybe if you're going to better yourselves. Good day.